filming intros is literally an Olympic sport. Hey guys, it's Erica. Welcome back to my channel. If you guys are new to my channel, I make a lot of supernatural and paranormal type of videos, and today I am back with a new one. Before I get into today's video, I just want to apologize for not posting very often last week. I was going through something. If you guys follow me on social media, which you guys can because it'll be somewhere on the screen, you guys would know what I'm talking about, and I don't really want to bring that negative energy into my channel, so I'm not going to bring it up here. But if you know what I'm talking about, you would know that it was very emotionally tolling on me, and I just didn't get the chance to film. So I'm sorry for not having a new episode of Country Spooks. There will be a new episode this week, I promise. If it's the last thing I do, I promise there will be a new episode. Before I get into the story time, I do just kind of want to lay a couple things out there for you all, because this is a very confusing story, and I'm gonna be jumping around time quite a bit because it's like two stories all in one, and I think the best way to talk about it is to just combine them because they were both very impactful in their own way. So that's what we're gonna do. Bear in mind this might be a longer one, so I recommend grabbing your snacks, grabbing a drink, doing something, because y'all gonna be here for a minute. So yeah, I'm gonna be jumping around time a lot, and I might be making references to something that happened in the past so you guys understand the story a little bit better. Just bear with me. I do just want to say that everything that I'm saying in this video is 99% true. The 1% is the fact that I'm changing names out of respect and courtesy to the families. The story time revolves around people close to me who passed away, and just out of respect for their loved ones, I'm changing their names. That's like the only part of this video that isn't true. Okay guys, enough wordiness, I'm just gonna get right into the story time. So we're gonna flash back to October 2015. I don't remember how old I was. I was probably like 19, 20 years old. It was mid-October, and I remember it was October because October is, like, if you guys can't tell, is my favorite month of the year. It's my favorite time of the year. So I do remember that, and it was mid-October, and I remember I just had a very, very bad dream. That's where this story starts off with, a very bad dream. I remember waking up and just like thinking about it all fucking day. So my dream was basically about a middle school reunion, which was kind of weird, but that's what I dreamt about, and it was at someone's house, and the house was literally connected to a graveyard, which is probably arguably the creepiest part, but like, obviously I love that. So that was pretty convenient and pretty cool. And it was just full of people that I haven't seen in years. Literally, I haven't seen people from grammar school for over a decade, so it was just really creepy. But it was nice, like, we were having a good time, and then I just remember walking through the house and seeing these two, I guess the best way to call it is like shadow figures. I don't know what they were, but they weren't there. And in my dream, I was conscious of the fact that other people couldn't see them. And typically, like, in your dreams, you kind of just accept reality for what it is, but this wasn't the case. I was well aware that, like, they weren't meant to be in my present world, so I was very concerned. And I remember they just stared at me. We were in the kitchen at this point, and I was grabbing drinks or something, and they were just staring at me, and I felt obligated to follow them because it felt like we were connecting and they were telling me to follow them. Guys, I know that this sounds a little bit, like, bizarre, but just bear with me. So I follow these figures out into the back, and like I said, the house was literally inside of a cemetery, so it was a little crazy. And so we were walking out in the back into where, you know, the tombstones were, and there was just like a patch of grass that was like kind of like left off to the side. It wasn't necessarily connected to the rest of the cemetery. It was kind of isolated, and they followed me there. And I was like, what's going on? Like, I knew that I shouldn't have followed them, but my body was like, no, you have to follow them. You have to figure out what's going on. So we get to this patch of grass, and I'm looking at them, and they look at me for a split second, and then they look down. And I freak out. I'm like, what are we looking at? And at this point, it didn't register who was actually there, like who I was actually looking at. But then when they looked back at me, I noticed them, and this is where it starts getting very creepy. If you didn't think it was already creepy enough that I was following, I guess you could call them ghosts, I'm not really sure, into a graveyard, this is where it gets creepy, because they weren't just random beings. They were people I knew, and they were people who had passed away. So we're gonna call them Crystal and David, and I went to grammar school with both of them. We weren't necessarily friends. We kind of like hung out with different crowds of people, but when they died, it was really, really really heartbreaking. Literally, when I recognized them, I just felt an overwhelming amount of grief, to the point where I was crying in my dream, like literally crying. And they looked at me. They didn't say anything. They just looked at me. And it was like we were having like this weird mental connection where I knew what they were saying to me, even though they weren't actually saying it. I felt Crystal's grief and Crystal's fear and all of her worries. But the thing that was weird was that she wasn't feeling that for herself. You know what I mean? She wasn't feeling that like, okay, I'm gone. I'm sad. This is my emotional impact on you. No, it was more so like a warning, and it was very, very, very sad. And I remember just feeling devastated and just shaking and like horrible. And David was kind of the same way, except David was kind of more reserved and off to the side and just like observing everything. Tombstones literally like popped out of nowhere, but they didn't have any names on them. And I automatically was terrified because, like I said, they weren't communicating to me like verbally. I felt their grief and I felt what they were thinking. And I knew that those two tombstones had to have been people that were close to them. And I remember in my dream asking them, like, are these people, like, are they dead? Do you know them? Are they, like, your family? Are they your friends? What's going on? And mentally, I felt them telling me no, 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 until I said friends. When I said friends, they looked at me and I could see the fear in their eyes. I was like, so these are your friends? And I remember David, like, nodded his head, but he didn't say anything. And then like, something came over me where I just knew something really bad was wrong. I knew that something was going to happen, that these people that they cared about weren't dead, but something was going to happen. And for some reason, two people popped into my head, like the images of two people popped into my head that I knew they were mutually close to. And I just remember in my dream, I ran away from them. And I went in the house and I looked for those people because they were going to be there because it was, you know, a middle school reunion. So I assumed everyone was there. And I just remember not finding them and being terrified, like actually terrified that something horrible had happened, because literally these two spirits were warning me. It felt like a legitimate warning that they were like, something is going to happen. Something bad is going to happen. Like, you need to do something. And it's the most bizarre thing I have ever experienced. Why I was the one that they chose to visit in my sleep, or even if you don't believe that, why that happened to me is still a pressing issue that I don't have an answer for. But so yeah, that happened, and I remember waking up that morning literally in tears. I don't know if you guys ever have like felt such a strong emotion in your sleep where you literally wake up crying, but I did. And I remember the very first thing I did that morning was open Facebook and look up these people. I'm not going to give out their names or like even make, you know, pseudonyms for them, but basically they were two guys and I wanted to just see if they were okay. I know that sounds really creepy, but my dreams made me creep on people I went to grammar school with, and I was okay about that because then I realized that they were okay, they were all healthy, yada yada yada. And I just kind of like put it to rest. Obviously not really. I've been telling this story over and over again for 3 years at this point, just because I can't make sense of it. But here is where it connects to everything else, or I think it connects to everything else. That was part 1, y'all. Y'all still with me? This is going to get even crazier, and I just need to know what you guys think of this, because I don't even know what to think of this at this point. It's been so many years, and I still can't decipher how I feel about this event. Okay, let's get into it. This is what I mean where I'm going to be jumping time, so you guys understand the context of what I'm talking about. Way back in the day, like literally when I was about 6 years old, I moved to a new neighborhood with my parents, and I made friends with this boy named Daniel. Me and him were inseparable. Literally inseparable. Like, we spent every minute together because he was my best friend. I was his best friend. And we just had such a great bond. We got into a lot of shit together too, but we were kids, so it was fine. I could honestly say he was one of the most important people in my life. He was my best friend, my first friend, if anything. I just want to lay it out there that this person, that Daniel, was like incredibly important to me. Is incredibly important to me, I should say. Is incredibly important to me. Besides the point, we grew up together, and then I had moved away. We kind of like drifted apart. We reconnected when we got a little bit older, and we developed a relationship where we didn't talk every day, but we talked, you know, semi-annually-ish. And when we talked for hours. We would meet up. We would like get like food together and just like talk about what's going on with our lives, or we would just like be on the phone for hours with each other, and we would just be like, this is happening, this is happening. And this was part of our routine for a good long time, like from the ages of like 15 to the time that everything happened. And I remember it was the beginning of 2016. It was January, I think it was mid-January 2016, where he called me one day, and he was like so excited to tell me about his plans. Also, I'm gonna try really hard not to get emotional, because like this is something that I don't talk about with people, so y'all are like insiders. I trust you guys to talk about this with you. But okay, he called me and we talked for hours that night in January 2016. He was just like, everything is so crazy. Like, remember I told you that I was having a hard time figuring out what I want to do in life, and now he was moving to Miami to like pursue something, like pursue a music career. Like, he wanted to be a producer, and he moved to Miami, and he had an opportunity, like an amazing opportunity. And I was so fucking happy for him, because he had a hard time figuring out what he was doing with his life. And I was different. I had a routine, I had a route that I was going to take. He didn't have that. And like, I remember that was like a big thing with our conversations. I know this isn't super relevant, but I want you guys to understand how, you know, impactful he was to me, and how important he was to me, I should say. And so he was so excited talking about how him and, we're going to call him Alex. Him and Alex, which is a kid that I went to school with, he was in my grade. Daniel, or Danny, I guess we're going to call him, was a year older than me, but we were still really close. And Alex was in my grade. He was in my class. So they were best friends too, and they decided to move to Miami to pursue this music career. And I was so happy for him. I was like, that's so great. Like, you deserve this, Danny. You deserve everything that you work hard for. And he was just like, and I'm so proud of you. Like, you're in college. That's so cool. Like, not a lot of people could be where you're at, and that's great. And we were just really hyping each other up, because that's just what we did. And I haven't seen, at that point, I haven't seen him for like almost a year. So it's just so weird, like, knowing that I was like, okay, I'm gonna get into it. I'm gonna just keep talking. So after the conversation, you know, I was like, that's good. I'm really happy for him. And now we're gonna talk about one of like the hardest and worst days of my life. February 6th, 2016, I remember exactly what I was doing when I found out that he had died. I was in the living room studying for a test. Conveniently enough, I was studying for a test, and I get notifications on Facebook, like, you know how everyone gets their news? It was Facebook. And then I open Facebook, and it says, 2 young men, Daniel and Alex, died tragically on an expressway. And I was thinking in my head, no, like, that's impossible. There's no way that they're talking about that Danny. There's no way that they're talking about him. And I was in so much denial, because on my Facebook, all of my friends, all of our mutual friends were like, oh my god, rest in peace, Danny. Oh my god, I can't believe this is happening, blah, blah, blah. And I didn't believe it until I went to his, like, brother's Facebook page. Even though the news clearly was reporting, like, on it, like, they were talking about what happened, I couldn't believe it until I went to his brother's Facebook page. And they were basically, they were saying that it was true. He had died really, like, tragically on the expressway. There was a really bad accident. He died instantly, and literally my world shattered. and it was probably the hardest day, like I said, of like one of the hardest days of my life, because I just couldn't believe that that was happening to him, because I had just talked to him. We were just talking about how great everything was working out, how he was gonna make this big career out of himself, and like he had so many plans, and I just couldn't believe that that was happening. I was like, no fucking way, like not my Danny, no, this is no. But it was true, and it was sad, and he was 21 when he died. At the time, I was, at that point, 20, yeah. He was 21 when he died, and I couldn't believe it. And now you guys are probably wondering, like, yeah, that's sad, but what does that have to do with the dream you had? Well, they were all best friends. Alex and Danny were best friends with the other two, with Crystal and David. They were all best friends. And I personally, like, remembered that dream after it happened. I remembered that, like, in the dream, I felt like I was being warned that something bad was going to happen to two people, and it conveniently enough did. Like, something bad happened to people that they cared about. And it just so happened that that person that they cared about was somebody that I really cared about. I know it probably seems like I'm stretching it, and that, you know, bad things happen all the time, and this was just way too convenient because they were really fucking close, guys. And I even remember telling Daniel about this dream, and he was like, that's fucking crazy, dude. Like, he was telling me how, like, insane that is, and, like, how he believes it, and how, like, that can mean something. And then it happened to him, and I don't really know how to feel about it, because I also think that they're connected with each other because of how close in time it was. Keep in mind, I had the dream in October of 2015, and Danny and Alex had passed away in February 2016, so it was literally only a couple months apart. I just remember sitting on the couch just thinking, like, oh my goodness. It's still something that I deal with every day, and I don't know what it means. And I just want to point out that by no means am I making this about myself, because I'm not saying, like, oh my god, I predicted their death. I'm just saying that, what if I could have, like, helped the situation? You know what I mean? Also, there's a possibility that it was just a coincidence. It was just a bad dream. I had a bad feeling. It was very confusing, and it was very sad, and I still don't know what to make of it. And that's why I'm posting this on the interwebs for you guys to kind of chime in and tell me what you think, because this is really a secret to me. I can't necessarily go out there in the world and admit this, because this is something that people don't want to hear. This is something that I know for a fact if I went and told Daniel's mother, she would be very upset, which is why I would never do it. I would never do that, because I'm considerate, and that's horrible. So that's pretty much all I have for you guys today. I do really want to hear your opinions and your thoughts about this story time, and if you guys think that my dream had anything to do with their deaths, let me know. And if they did, what do you think that means? If they don't, what do you think that means? I just really want to know what you guys think. If you guys like this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. It supports me, and it lets me know that you guys actually give a fuck about my content. Make sure to hit the subscribe button to become a member of the Ghosty fam, and turn on your notifications so you guys can be notified when I post the next video. I hope you guys are having a great day. Stay cool, stay spooky, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye-bye.